Hi to everybody. It's Chad back at Indy Fitness for All Roads Lead to the Gym. Special episode today, just me and Matt Foreman. Otto may pop in. If he gets here in time, he had something going on. If not, we'll talk to him next time. First of all, how you doing, Matt?
Doing good. Thanks for asking.
So we had Matt on originally before he kind of became a co-host here to talk about his story and his time in BUD/S training, his time as a medic in the Navy, and there just felt like there was a lot of stuff left unsaid. Yeah. And we've always said that we would have you back on to hear more of your story, and I know you've been on several times. You were on as a guest host with some others, as well as you were here when we talked to the therapist about all of our all of our head issues.
Good time.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Nothing better than sitting in a room and with a camera talking about all your problems.
Right.
It's one thing to do it amongst friends, another to do it with a camera on and a therapist sitting there judging you. Anyway, no, Megan was great. She didn't judge us. She wasn't there for that, but just sometimes that's nerve-wracking. But anyway, we talked a lot about in your episode. What episode was that?
I think it was episode 6.
That's literally my favorite one.
Yeah.
I mean, it was my favorite one. It was when I realized that if we needed another host, that you would be great. And your story is very intriguing.
It's kind of unique.
Yeah.
Kind of unique.
Yeah, so I'm just going to let you start here and just kind of let us catch up a little bit with you and more things any topic you want to talk about, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I guess growing up, I wasn't always into fitness, but I met a lot of my friends, and we had a really tight group of friends that we kind of held each other accountable. And that's one thing that I really like about the gym is the accountability. And that's one thing I like about Indy Fitness is the accountability. And we had a bunch of friends that kind of held us accountable, and the gym was one of the things that we held each other accountable with. And that's how I started in the gym was in high school, maybe late middle school. And it was mainly your isolation lifts, and that's kind of how I started in the gym. And I wasn't that good of an athlete growing up, but I was surrounded by really good athletes that kind of instilled a very good work ethic. One of my childhood best friends is Jamie O'Brien. So he kind of instilled the work ethic and the gym culture inside of me, and that's kind of like the gold standard for me now. Is like I always look for like that every time I go to the gym, like that kind of mindset or aura. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people will come here. We travel around. Me and Julie travel quite a bit, and we don't want to miss gym sessions.
Yeah.
So we always find a gym where we're staying, and not always does it have the right atmosphere for us.
Yeah. Right. Definitely.
We have cultured. We have. Oh. God dang it! I should have silenced my phone.
That's some Otto right there.
It was.
No, yeah. So I really enjoyed the gym culture that we have here, and it all started from like middle school and early high school.
So I think the culture here is, a lot of times we'll have people come in and buy week passes or month that are here working on the road because there's a lot of pipeline. We got the refinery in the county, and there's a lot going on. There was building a bean plant over there. East of town, but those people will come in here and they'll tell us like, this is I have a gym at home. I have this gym and that gym, and I've been to this one and that one, and this is by far my favorite gym.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And the culture to me is we're all in it. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
Nobody
definitely.
here better than anybody else. We're all in this together.
Yeah. And I think that in the gym culture, you have to be able to have some thick skin though at the same time. Just because it is a good culture, I think that you have to be able to take and give constructive criticism. Like I think that if you saw me bench pressing and you came over and corrected me, you have how many years of experience of lifting more than I do. If I was your basic gym bro and told you, get out of here, like how much would I have lost? So I think that a lot of people do have to have a little bit of thick skin and, always be able to evolve and improve as a lifter and in life as well. And I think you have that here. People can go around and have conversations and get better. And, I think that's a great tip that
one of the
have.
other things that I love about our gym, that we have created this on purpose, it's intentional, that we have wrestling mats for the wrestlers, for the jiu-jitsu guys. We have a batting cage in the back for those who play baseball and softball. We have a turf room where you can flip tires, do battle rope, pull-ups, push the tires. And then, of course, we have the weight room for us meatheads. We have,
you got the free weights, you got the machines, you got ellipticals.
For a small town, I think we have 8 treadmills right now and 5 or 6 ellipticals, 5 or 6 bikes. So, and a walking track, a carpeted walking track. And, people literally range from the age of 14, or actually the age of 10 when you're old enough to come here with a parent, to I know that we have multiple people here in their 90s.
Yeah.
And everything in between. So.
Yeah, I see them. I see them back there. Kids, you have college athletes back there throwing the football, hitting the baseball back there. Definitely. You got the people walking around. So I think it's a great variety here that you guys have. So
talk to me a little bit about how fitness kind of was a catalyst maybe to get you to join the military. The two go hand in hand, if you ask my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think once 9/11 happened, that's when I made that switch to want to go in the military. And once I made that switch, I definitely took the lifting and working out 100% more seriously. Before, I was kind of just in there trying to look good in the mirror, Yeah. But once 9/11 happened and I realized that that's something that I wanted to prevent to happen again, the gym for me got 100% more serious in my nutrition and my work ethic. So just pushing myself, researching, like we had YouTube back then as well, just researching workouts. And it really taught me mental toughness because I before was always looking how to get big fast, how to lose weight faster, how to get stronger faster. And I always was looking for shortcuts instead of putting the work in.
There really is no shortcut.
Exactly. But I kept looking for shortcuts and I kept trying to cut corners everywhere and I just wasn't getting the results that I wanted until mentally, I had to accept how difficult it was and appreciate the people that were strong, appreciate how long a road it took for them to get there. Like you see, I guess a staple lift is 225 on bench, right? There's a lot of kids that can't do that, right?
For sure.
But once you start working out, you realize how much work it took to get there. And then you appreciate that, you appreciate, and then you guys, I think 2 or 3 podcasts ago, we're talking about warming up with 315 or something like that. It's your average person doesn't understand how amazing and rare that is.
It's incredibly difficult. It's easier for some than others, but
it's still rare.
It is rare. I think they say, we talked about this on one of the podcasts before, it's less than 1% of the population of Earth can bench press 315,
right? And
less than 5% of gym goers.
Yeah. So it once I made that switch, that mental switch to embrace the difficultness, I progressed greatly, and I got stronger a lot faster once I accepted how long it was going to take.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think your goal has ever been to bench 315. I think maybe there might be a part of you that's everybody's it'd be kind of cool to bench 315.
Yeah.
But that's not your ultimate goal, right?
Before, when I was in high school and doing football workouts and stuff, having a big bench was important back then, just because all the rest of the guys were talking about how much they bench, and then they would flex in the mirror and see how big their biceps were.
For sure.
That was the main thing. So I got up to football before the military was a big goal of mine. So I'd always look at combine workouts and I'd always see like who were the top guys and how much they bench, like how many times they benched 225.
225. Yep.
Yeah, so I think I graduated at high school at like 145, and I was benching 225 close to like 16, 18 times.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, but my max wasn't that high. I can do my volume is really good. My max wasn't that high. But that was like a long time ago.
Right. No, but that's really impressive for someone of that weight. You know, sometimes people would compare someone like myself who benches in the threes to someone like you who doesn't bench in the threes.
Yeah.
And that's not fair because we're not the same size.
Right. There's weight brackets for a reason.
There are.
Yeah.
And the other thing is too is you are in way better shape than I am. And I'm not don't be this isn't the time to be humble. This is the time to be honest. Like I'm strong, but I'm not in very good shape. You're in all around great shape. You're strong, you're flexible, you have a lot of endurance.
Yeah.
And a lot of strength to weight ratio. I mean, that is kind of essentially what a CrossFit workout,
Yeah.
a CrossFit athlete is.
Above average at anything. I feel that like if we were to have any type of workout condition like or competition, I feel that I would finish above average, but I would never be at the top of anything. Like if you have a bunch of runners in here that run long distance, I think I would be able to hang with the top guys, but I wouldn't be able to finish with the top guys. And same with kind of weightlifting. I feel that I'm in the same kind of category that I wouldn't be able to finish with the top guys, but I think I would finish well above par with the norm. So
Yeah, so it's kind of like, we have in the Olympics we have sprinters considered the fastest men on earth, and we have the throwers that can, throw a shot put 1,000,000 miles. But the real athletes, that's not the right word. They're real athletes. The most impressive athletes to me are the ones that do the 10 events.
Okay.
And the winner at the end is the best of those 10 events.
Yeah.
And that's kind of because you're kind of I don't know. I think CrossFit is as a whole is a trademarked, deal. You're not a CrossFit athlete, but you're a CrossFit style athlete.
Yeah.
There are no CrossFit trainers around here that I know of.
Right.
But it's basically, take us through what a workout week would look like. I mean, from weights to cardio to whatever.
Yeah. So I was a huge CrossFit hater in the beginning, and then after towards the end of my career in the military, I started falling in love with CrossFit, and then I figured out that the top level CrossFitters are not just doing CrossFit. So the guys that are going to the games and finishing high in regionals or whatever it is, the top guys in their gyms, they're not doing CrossFit. As much as I love CrossFit, they're not. They are doing strength workouts. They're doing metabolic conditioning or Metcons. So they have a huge program that they're working out probably 6 to 7 days a week.
Okay, I'm ignorant. What's metabolic conditioning?
It's just like your HIIT classes, but it's constantly varying to where it shocks the system all the time. So you have, I think, I'm not 100% on the terminology, but it's called a mesocycle. So it's like a 6-week program. So you stay within the same techniques or workout platforms within those 6 weeks, and then it changes. But inside those 6 weeks, let's say it's more of a lower body area, or it's more of a squat area.
Focus.
Yeah, then you would focus more on those on your Metcons. So you're doing a lot of thrusters or front squats, or you're doing, let's say you're doing 4 rounds, you might be doing 10 squats and then box jumps. You'll do 10 box jump overs, and then you do lunges or something. You'll do constantly varying those kind of workouts within those 6 weeks. And after the 6 weeks, you'll change something up. So your body has time to adapt to the movements, but then it's still constantly varying after that 6 weeks to where you're always sore. So you have a major lift that you're doing. So it's either squats, cleans, presses, deadlifts, snatches, and then you do maybe some isolation lifts and then a Metcon, like a high intense workout, and then you got stretching afterwards. So that's what I do. Before my surgery, that's what I did 5 days a week. 6th day was like a zone 2, like an hour zone 2 training.
What does that mean?
Zone 2 is
Heart
like
rate?
your heart rate. You keep it, I keep mine under like 145, 150 for about an hour.
Is that considered the fat burning zone or?
Yeah, more. I think it is the fat burning zone, but I'm more doing it to get the circulation to break up the lactic acid. So that's what I'm mainly doing it for. So I'm not as sore all the time.
You know, there's you'll see them at almost every gym. They have the zones. That's how I that's the only way I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
They have a poster hanging on the wall near the cardio equipment that shows you the fat burning zone, the cardio zone, the muscle building zone. It does not take much for me to get into the fat burning zone.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You know, a good brisk walk, like a 15-minute mile walk, 4 mile an hour walk will put me in the fat burning zone. And I try to maintain that for, 3 to 4 miles if I have time.
Good.
I've been doing that. So I did that originally back in 2016. I started doing it, and I got to where 4 miles in 56 minutes. But I was in a lot better cardio condition before I really discovered how much I loved lifting weights.
Yeah.
But I've incorporated that back in the last few months.
Yep.
And I come in here in the mornings. I get here at 6 a.m. and I try to do 2.5 to 3 miles, depending on meetings at work and how much time I have. But I don't want to miss out on. I will
lifting.
not sacrifice
enjoyable.
weights
Yep.
for cardio. I will sacrifice cardio for weights. Maybe I should probably do that the other way around. But
No,
I
think you got to do a little bit of all of it. To be honest, like when I was training for like longer distances, I would do zone 2 running, and it was almost way too easy. But it's supposed to be like that, to where you work on your form and your technique. So you might start off at zone 2 at like a 12 or a 14-minute mile, like you're saying. But if you work on your form and your technique at running, you can get it down to underneath the 10-minute mile, still in that zone 2. So that's the goal of training at zone 2 is to perfect your techniques and to be able to keep your heart rate at that low, comfortable level for an extended amount of time.
So this past Thursday was Thanksgiving. I had a house full of people, all my kids and grandkids. One daughter couldn't make it. She lives in Kansas City. She was at another deal with her significant other's family. But they were texting her, and they've come to the conclusion that in June we're going to do a Tough Mudder or
good.
something similar to that. I don't remember if it was which race it was, which includes a 5K.
Yeah.
And some obstacles. And they've challenged me to do that with them.
Yeah.
I cannot let my children win. I want to do it as a group, and I want to, have a good time. But at the same time, I don't want them standing at the obstacle going, waiting on Dad again.
Jeez.
So I need to probably get with you sometime, and we'll figure out a way to help me get to where I need to be.
The few that I did, like the obstacles are spread out enough to, as soon as like you get into that, like when I run, I try to like zone out. Mm-hmm. As soon as you get close to zoning out, there's another obstacle, so it just breaks it up. And as soon as if you're not really good at running, like I feel that for me, like it was as soon as you start to zone out or start to get fatigued, like there's an obstacle and there's a line for the obstacle, so that you get a break. So I suggest like you run pretty hard, because there's gonna be a line at the obstacle, and then all obstacles are, kind of a break from running. So it's a really good time. I enjoyed it.
And that I want to be somewhere in the middle of the pack. I'm never catching Miles, my 21-year-old son. I'm never going to be there again. He's in phenomenal shape. And then the results vary throughout the rest of the family. So I want to be there at least competitive, not competing with them, but I want to be able to hold my own.
Yeah, that's a good goal. I think the Tough Mudders are really fun, and I think they're a really good idea. It's a good time to get outside.
I think my son, we all want to do it as a group, but I just know him, and he's going to be like,
See ya.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not waiting on you, morons. Basically, his attitude.
Yeah, because he's gonna be trotting when he wants to be running.
Yeah.
Yep. He's got that alpha mentality where he has to finish first.
Yeah, I can remember when he was a youngster, probably 12 years old or roughly 13, and his older brother was considering doing ROTC in college.
Yeah.
And had to pass a physical conditioning test to get
PST.
in. Yeah, to get in there. And Miles is running with Nick at the track, and he's running backwards, saying, "Come on, Nick, come on!" And he's like, "I'm not doing this anymore with Miles running backwards." So that's just who he is. So I don't think he's going to want to stick around with us slows. Anyway, so back to let's get back to Matt.
Yeah,
that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
We always end up talking about me. It's my favorite subject.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's good. I enjoy it.
So after, I want to talk more about your military time.
Yeah. So 2006, I went into the Navy with it's called a BUDS contract. And before that, you'd have to go and get your normal job. And then your command would let you go screen to go to BUDS. So this was kind of like a new era for me and the Navy to allow you to go straight into BUDS, which is basic underwater demolition SEAL teams. It's like a physical conditioning test, and if you pass it, you get like a ticket to go to SQT, which is SEAL qualification training, and that's where you learn to be a SEAL. So like I didn't make it that far. I didn't. So. But in the beginning process was extremely difficult. Like they said less than like 1% of the nation qualifies to even test to go to BUDS. And if you look at the minimum requirements to go to BUDS, I think it was like 14-minute mile and a half or 30 mile and a half. And then I think it's like push-ups, sit-ups, I think those had to be above like 60 or 80, and then above 12 pull-ups, and then a 500-meter swim less than like 12 or 13 minutes. So those are like the bare minimums. So when I graduated boot camp, you had to be over 100 push-ups and sit-ups, and then you had to be over 20 pull-ups, and then your mile and a half needed to be under 10 minutes, and then your 500-meter swim needed to be around 10 minutes to even qualify to go out there. So the minimums, you could pass the minimums to go, but you were competing against hundreds, if not thousands of people trying to even get an opportunity to go. So it was very difficult to go to BUDS. It was extremely difficult, and it weeded a lot of people out. So that was the beginning of and Navy boot camp. I just kind of skipped over that, but it was I'm trying to be respectful at the same time because there's so much tradition and there's so many people that love the Navy. I went into the Navy peak performance, working out 2-3 times a day. Like my mindset was laser focused on one goal, and the Navy did a really good job of breaking me down, but didn't do a very good job of building me back up to where the BUDS Prep program, which I was the first class for that BUDS Prep program, which is put on by like retired SEALs, and they're called mentors and like Olympic athletes. That crushed me because Navy boot camp just broke me down. So like we couldn't work out. We got in trouble for working out and doing push-ups and stuff like that, like doing more than the PT standard. So so I had to, once I graduated boot camp, I had to do extra because I'm not like athletically gifted, so I had to put more work in than everybody else just to feel like I fit in.
I'll tell you, so I was in Marine Corps boot camp in the 90s. I think things have, the Marine Corps says they haven't changed their standards, that they will not lower their standards. But I've talked to some newer Marines, and I think that maybe the standard, like the number hasn't changed. The way you get to that number has changed a little bit, meaning
potentially
the niceness of how you get to that number.
Yeah, there's no more knife hands. If anyone knows if they're just listening to that, it's like you can't point your finger with one finger, so you use all four fingers and you like point with all four fingers. That's called a knife hand, and you can't do that anymore. Like, it's too aggressive.
I did not. Breaking news.
Yeah.
I do knife hands still to this day.
Yeah, right. They're way too aggressive. It's about to be 2025.
Wow. But what I was going to say is Marine Corps boot camp was incredibly difficult for me, but more mentally than physically. I was not at male peak performance when I left to go to boot camp. For everybody, I mean, weight has been a problem for me my entire life. I had to lose weight to be able to go to boot camp.
Yeah.
I think I had to weigh 212 to get there. I got there. But boot camp in and of itself was not physically, it's a tough way to explain
So it was so physically demanding, it became more mental.
It was so mental. The
Yes.
mental aspect, I was more prepared physically than I was mentally. And going in, I thought that I was more mentally prepared than physically.
Yeah, no, I understand that 100%. Yeah.
It's amazing how not having a car and not having snacks,
Yeah.
just, what I'm saying is we didn't PT every day. We didn't run every day.
Okay.
We ran a lot of days, but we didn't run every day.
Right.
We didn't do pull-ups every day. We maybe did them, 2 or 3 times a week, push-ups every day. I mean, we
Yeah.
pushed every day, but that was just more or less punishment for nothing.
Yeah.
But
Not having your hospital corner on your bed the right way.
Right. We tight enough. I was there, or not getting dressed in 3.5 seconds like I was told to.
Yeah.
But walking or marching, we didn't walk. We marched everywhere we went.
Yep.
And you would probably put miles in a day without even realizing you had put miles in a day.
Yeah.
Because there were no cars to drive. You didn't go to the refrigerator and get a snack. You had 3 meals a day,
Yep.
and that was it.
Yeah.
There was nothing else. So I went from 212 to 172 in 3 months and there's, the funny thing, I don't know if it's the same way in the Navy, but the only mirrors that we had were to see to shave.
Yeah, same.
You could not see your body in those mirrors. I had no idea how much I had changed. On the last night before graduation, they give you your box that so the Marine Corps boot camp, when you get there, they shave your head, they take all your clothes, they take everything away from you,
Yep.
and you put them in a box. You tape the box up and they put it away.
Yeah.
On the last day, 3 months later, you get your box back. And my drill instructor told me to go put my pants on. He knew how much weight I had lost.
Yeah.
They weighed us every week, but they made us turn our back to the scale. I had no idea how much I weighed.
Crazy.
He said, put your jeans on that you came in. And I started to unbutton my camouflage utilities, and he said, not so nicely, I didn't say take your pants off. I said, put your pants on. So I put these jeans on that I came in, and I'm holding them out. And
Like
I swear to
inches?
God, it's like 8 inches away
my
from
gosh.
they were huge.
Yeah.
I think I went in wearing like a 42 waist and came out wearing a 32 waist.
Nice.
So, and that was not from putting miles and miles and miles and miles. That was from not having snacks and marching and just having someone there to be my discipline.
Yeah, and I think that's a big tip for everyone is sometimes discipline. The hardest thing is, instead of adding things to discipline, is saying no. Sometimes that's the hardest thing is saying no, to not going out and drinking, or not going and hanging out with that group of friends, or, not doing whatever it is and doing what you need to do. So sometimes saying no is the biggest or the most difficult thing when it comes to discipline that I've noticed. So
we talked a while back, a couple of weeks ago, and you said that, I hope I'm not putting your business on the street, but you said that you had considered going back to go overseas again?
So ever since the military, it's like just rewired my brain, and contracting and everything, to where it's hard to adapt to civilian life. It's hard to have a normal job or be normal. Like, that's like a big fear of mine for some reason, to where it's hard to integrate back into civilian life, to where I'm constantly, getting messages from friends to go back, or looking at jobs that take me overseas again, constantly. So what I did after the military was I did private military contracting. So I met a lot of really important people and a lot of guys that have done some really amazing things, to where they message me now or say, hey, be a part of my team. We're going to go over to this place or something like that. So yeah, constantly.
So what's the verdict? Still thinking about it?
The hardest thing about discipline is saying no. So I made a decision to be there for my wife and kids. So it is extremely hard to turn the page. Extremely hard, especially when I get reminders on social media and the news and my friends. Like, it's hard. It's hard. I keep not wanting to turn the page, but I keep reminding myself that I need to be there for my wife and kids.
That is absolutely true. How old are you now?
37.
37.
Yeah.
So every Warriors war story has a lifespan.
Yeah, right.
Right? And 37, you don't see a lot of NFL players at 37.
Yeah.
You don't see very many war fighters at 37.
Potentially.
Some.
Yeah.
But they are definitely they are more valuable for their knowledge and their expertise than they are for their athletic abilities.
And that's kind of one thing that's the reason that's pulling me back, is because now that the war's ended, there's not a lot of people that have the experience, that trying to be humble at the same time, that I have. So the experience that I have is, I feel is very, very valuable for this next generation. And I think that we're kind of cut from the same cloth at the same time. Is, yes, I want to set the next generation up for success, but the only way to do it the right way is do it yourself. So it's like, I want to go over there and I want to still protect people. I still want to, I want to destroy evil at all costs, and I know that I have the capability, or I used to have the experience and mindset to be able to put it to bed, and to where it's never coming back, or at least in that individual. So I just, it's really hard for me to turn the page. And yeah, recently, I won't say his name because everything's kind of getting scrutinized right now, and they're using his death for propaganda. So one of my seniors, when I was on my first deployment, recently retired from the Marine Corps and went over to Ukraine. He had enlisted in the Ukraine, and he went to go fight against Russia. So with his experience, he went and he was doing like special tasks for them, and he was actually in Russia taking out weapons refineries and oil refineries, things like that, ammo caches, and him and his team end up getting ambushed by the Russians, and they're using his body and parading it around and taking pictures of it and send it to his family and things like that. So I don't want to say his name online, just because his family's having a hard time right now, and we're all having a hard time because the Russians are taking pictures of his body, and they have his phone, and they unlocked his phone, and they're sending pictures and videos of everything to like all of us. So, and that really angers me. Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like, I want to go over there and make them pay.
And that makes me want to go with you.
Yeah, like, it's so, like, there is that type, and it makes it to where I used to be able to turn the channel for the Ukraine-Russian war and act like it wasn't there because it's, in a different continent, but it just makes it more real. Like, having I have friends over there, but like this is the first one that died over there in this war. So it just makes it to where I can't ignore it. I can't ignore it. And that same spark that I had at 9/11 is still there. It's like turning into an ember, and it's like getting bigger, and I'm trying to like pat it down, like just ignore it, like it's someone else's time to do it. It's someone else will revenge it. Like, I know revenge isn't a good thing, but it will be for a purpose, and someone else will make them pay. So it's just,
this is not a political show. I'm a very politically minded person with a lot of thoughts, but I don't want to, there's Michael Jordan has a famous saying when they ask him why he wouldn't endorse some Democrat senator in North Carolina. He said, because Republicans buy shoes too.
Okay.
And so I don't want to make this a political show
right,
in any way, shape, or form, but I do want to say, like, I want to, what are your thoughts with Donald Trump recently being reelected, and he'll be into office do you have thoughts on that? He'll be office January 20th. Vladimir Putin's already kind of showed some signs that maybe he is a bit afraid of the Donald Trump regime. Do you think that will help?
I hope so. I have ignored it, as like bad of American as that sounds. Like, I've been trying to ignore it for a long time and kind of step back away from it, because I used to protect like his family, Trump's family. Like, I don't want to say all their names, because like some of the stuff was classified. I don't know if it still is, so I don't want to get in trouble with names and dates and times and things. But when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, like, some of his family members or people in his cabinet did go over, so I got to know him pretty well. Well, not pretty well, like, I knew them.
Right.
And like, my job's kind of to stay in the background, so like, I didn't really know them like that. So, but like, I see that they are good people, and I see that they don't want to cause harm. Like, being in the meetings with them, they want to resolve it at any means necessary, but they also want to resolve it for the best of everybody. Like, they're not out there, from the meetings that I was in, they're not out there trying to cause harm, and that's on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, the meetings that I was in. So I just don't like how both sides of the news villainizes everybody.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
So it's just like, I think I, along with everyone else in America, are very in the middle. Like, I'm not one side, or I'm not the other. And like I said, like, going over them, protecting them, like, I can see on both sides that they just want the best for everybody.
One of the things that Donald Trump is kind of known for is peace through strength.
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that notion, whether it come from him or whether it come from the other side politically. I think that having great warfighters like yourself, and hey, you are the most humble guy I've ever met, but I've cleared rooms with you.
Yeah.
Like, for those who don't know, like, clearing a room with a SWAT team is an orchestra.
Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts.
It's an orchestra, and there's a lot of things that have to happen. They don't have to happen. They should happen. And you are very good at being the maestro to explain to everyone what parts should move which way and why.
No, I appreciate that.
So you're very good at that. And that was honestly my first we had met briefly here at the gym when you first moved to town.
Yeah.
But my first interaction with you was during some of those training days.
Yeah.
Where you were, and you're very gifted. But having people like you, having the Navy SEALs, the Marine Corps as a whole, the Rangers, all these war fighters, having the best jets, the best missiles, the best everything.
Yeah.
Spending money on the military makes peace.
Yeah, I think that I agree, because I think that there's that quote that says, "You'd rather be a warrior in a garden
Than a
you know?
gardener in a war.
Yeah, right. So I think having the war fighters and having the capability and being peaceful says a lot about the U.S. Like we have the potential to, I mean, do a lot of damage.
In the world.
Yes.
We have the
yeah.
potential to literally end the world.
Right. And us being peaceful should strike fear in a lot of terrorist groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hope that there's terrorists that can't sleep because we're after them. Like I know there's teams, I've been on teams that hunted them, and you better not sleep. Like you go to sleep, you're getting caught. Like you're done.
Right.
And the world does need that. But at the same time, like being in Afghanistan for so long, I think one of the Taliban guys that we interviewed they said one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So it's like we have to understand the line of, which country needs the help and which country's government is pretty much chaotic and the civilians, need to take it over, I guess. Like I don't know if that makes sense, but there needs to be a line between it so that we can understand and we don't step over that line because I mean, I bet there's a lot of Democrats that want to overthrow the government because Donald Trump right now,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I would hate for another country to come in and try to tell us what to do, at the same time.
To me, it's all about sovereignty.
Yeah.
But you have to be a good actor. You can't be a bad actor in this world and then expect us to stay out of your business.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think we have to have pristine fighters that are ready to go at a moment's notice. We have to have them.
So when you talked about that quote, the gardener, better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, made me think of a quote that reminds me of you, is no one will ever understand the violence it took to become this peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you are a very peaceful, very humble person. But I know you're ready to go. Like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I like my heart rate's just talking about all this stuff. My heart rate's getting up and I'm kind of like tense. So it's just, it is tough. It's hard. It's hard because like you said, you don't see too many guys that are my age that are still doing it and just still having that spark. It just feels like unfinished business.
Yeah. My wife during 9/11 was going to college, becoming the amazing teacher and administrator she is now. But she was working at the VFW, serving hamburgers on Tuesday nights.
Okay.
when 9/11 happened, and she has often recounted to me with emotion that the 60, 70, 80-year-old veterans in the VFW were plotting how they were going to get overseas to fight this war.
Yeah.
It once you have it in you, it doesn't leave you. It's going to be in you forever.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to push it out, but there is a time when you're no longer an asset physically. I'm not saying you're there
No,
yet.
yeah. No, I understand. And that's going to be another chapter that's going to be hard to turn.
Yeah, so, just kind of going back to when you were talking about the CrossFit training a little bit ago.
Yeah.
And I start thinking about my kids challenging me for this mud run, whatever I don't remember which one they're signing us up for, but I immediately start thinking, okay, I need to get with Matt. The way my brain works,
Yeah.
I start thinking I need to get with Matt. I've got to figure out how I'm going to do this. I need him to understand that I can't do lateral movements because of my knees. They hurt really bad. And I have some flexibility issues with my shoulders since shoulder surgery. And like, I am, no matter what my brain feels like,
Yeah.
I am not ready to go. I am not ready to go to war. I would love to think that I am. And I think that there are certainly some things that I could do.
Yeah.
But the limitations are way more than the strengths at this point.
Yeah, and I just kind of hate to say it, but it's just like TV and movies and video games kind of glorify it. And you say I'm humble all the time, but a lot of it is like, I remember on my first deployment, like we would have a high value target we would get a grid, and the grid would be like no one was there, nothing. So it's just a lot of waiting around, a lot of nothing, a lot of desert and dirt, moon dust, and heat, to where very little of it was kinetic firefights. Very little of it compared to a lot of it was waiting around for a mission or security or trying to go figure out what intel we needed for the next mission or something. So a lot of it was waiting around, and I've had the privilege of being around a ton of guys that have a lot more experience than I'll ever have. Like one of the guys that I was almost starstruck with when I was contracting, he was a PJ, which is a pararescueman, parajumper, and that's the Air Force's top medics. They're like Tier 1 is like SEAL Team 6 or Development Group and Delta Force for the Army. And then Tier 2's Navy SEALs, Rangers, Recon, SF. I'm missing a whole bunch of them, but they're like the Tier 1, the best of the best medics when it comes to that tactical area. And he was actually on, obviously not the first recovery of Red Wing, but the second recovery, the one that didn't get shot down for Marcus Luttrell on Lone Survivor. And just listening to his stories, and he said that Axelson, so there's, if you guys ever watched the movie, Axel was the guy that was leaning up against the tree and got shot in the forehead. So he said on the recovery, they found 2 of the bodies, and then his they couldn't find for a few days. And he ended up finding his body like a couple hundred yards from the alternate LZ, like a couple days later. And his body wasn't like all shot up and all, it wasn't in, like, if anyone knows anything about someone that's died, that like the rigor mortis and stuff like that, like he wasn't, like it was like he recently died. So he was out there still fighting, like just as long as Marcus was. And like that's one thing I didn't like about the movie. I know I'm getting kind of sidetracked.
No, go ahead.
But
I'm intrigued.
But Axel, after getting blown up, and like all the bodies were shot up to bad from what he was saying, and Axel was the same way, but still like you could see him like crawling to the, like he was coherent enough to crawl to the alternate LZ, which was like miles away, you know? And dude, that just tells you, like, and I'm just getting goosebumps, like just being around people like that, like I'm so far down the totem pole, you know? Like, and I've been around like the Force Master Chief of like the Navy SEAL, like the Navy SEAL training program, you know? I've been around just former Delta Force guys. I've been on like really high missions. I've been with like development group guys. I've been with SEALs and Rangers, like all these guys. Even you're like, I just don't think that normal infantry guys, no, normal infantry, I hate saying that, but I've been around amazing infantry guys that have done more than even like your Tier 2 or Tier 1 guys have. And just hearing their stories makes me feel like I'm comparing myself to them, and like I've done nothing compared to them.
Right. So, you know, there's a book. I don't know if you've read it or not. It's by Jocko Willink and Leif.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on Leif's last name right now. I want
Yeah.
to say Erickson, but I could be wrong. No, that's not it. That's the. Never mind, not Erickson.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, Jocko Fiel and Origin USA.
Well, the book that I'm talking about is Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
It's a leadership book. Honestly, the best leadership, better than any leadership class I've ever had. But that book, between those 2 authors, 2 Navy SEALs, it's amazing. But one of the things that they say in there, and we think of Jocko and Leif as these amazing warfighters, which they are. I mean, Jocko's the real life Captain America. I mean, he's black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Just an absolute unit of a soldier, of a SEAL, not a soldier.
Yep.
Him and Leif both had never been in a firefight
Really? I didn't know
until
that.
they had been in charge
Okay.
of the SEAL teams in Afghanistan.
Okay.
In Ramadi, actually.
So Iraq.
Ramadi, yeah.
Yeah.
Ramadi, Iraq. Yep. They were. Leif was a team leader. Jocko was the SEAL commander.
Okay.
And they had never been in a firefight until they'd went there. That's what Jocko says in the book. So they train like you did.
Mm-hmm.
I was a crash fire rescue specialist in the Marine Corps, which that's a fancy term for saying I was a fireman at an airport
Yeah.
with, not Boeing 747s, but F-18s, AHB,
C-130s.
yeah, Harriers.
Yeah.
The main thing that we had was Harriers at Bogue Field there, but we trained every day.
Yeah.
Whether it was just how fast you could put your firefighter gear on,
Yeah.
or reading coordinates on a map, but you prepare every day. It doesn't mean that you are in a firefight every day,
Right.
but you were well prepared to be in one, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, your team, you trained, and
All the time.
and one of the things that Jocko says, I love this, is good.
Oh yeah. Yep.
If you say, hey, Matt, the mission today, we were supposed to go out and get this high value target. There's no one there.
Yep.
And that Jocko's response would be good.
Yep.
And why does he say good? Because that means that we have more time to train, or we have more time to get our gear ready, or we have more time to prepare for the next stop. There's always a positive in everything. So it's good that honestly that you didn't have to go out and firefight every day, because you may not be here if that had been the case.
Yeah, potentially, definitely. So yeah, I like that mindset as well. Just always trying to take the positive, because there's so much negative in the world. There's so much negative everywhere, and I think that's why the gym is important as well, is to be able to find that positive.
Yeah, for sure. I think I really tend to. Maybe it's my upbringing, the way having been a Marine, having been in the fire service, having been in law enforcement, but I gravitate towards those war fighters, those military men who write books and teach classes. I gravitate towards those.
Yeah, they're good.
Because I feel like I can relate more.
Yeah.
But I feel like the gym culture and the military have a lot in common.
Yeah, I've said it multiple times that it's the closest thing to that brotherhood in the military that I've found. That's why it's so addicting, is to be able to find that like-minded person, whether it's a gym partner or it's a time that you go and you see people there, like the same group of people there, and that hold you accountable all the time. So the same thing with the military. Is like you're always. It's not to the same extent, but it's pretty close. Pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for me, the biggest difference between being a civilian and being in the military was they became my absolute family, the guys and gals that I served with.
Yeah.
Because we worked together.
Eat
together, we lived together, we partied together, we fought together, we did everything together.
Yeah.
Where when you get back to civilian life, and I think my son, who just came home last Thursday from a year-long deployment, is starting to feel a lack of purpose, because he doesn't have those guys with him all the time now.
Right.
And so, civilian life is you come to the gym, you work out for a couple hours, you hang out with your friends, and then you go home.
Yep.
And you don't see them again until the next time you come to the gym.
Yeah.
But in the military, I mean, they literally become your brothers.
Definitely.
And the other thing I find so interesting and true, I see memes for this every once in a while. You'll see white redneck kid from Alabama with a cowboy hat on, with an inner city African American kid,
Oh, yeah.
and a really smart Asian kid, and they're all hanging out together, and they're brothers
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's the great
the
melting
bond,
pot.
the trauma bonding.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with where you're from. Those are your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, definitely. Like I remember on like preparing for our second deployment, like we had to go to like North Carolina, somewhere in the middle of North Carolina, and it was just a swamp, and mosquitoes were everywhere. Like the whole week or amount of time that we're there, there's just millions, just like in your ear, like in your tent, like everywhere. Well, not in a tent, in a sleeping bag, but like we had to dig fighting holes for the times that we were there, and it would rain so much that we would like float out of our fighting hole, and we just all wash up together. And it was just like you're just so wet, cold, and miserable, and just like bitten up, and just heat rash everywhere. Just it was the most miserable time, but you shared that experience with the people around you. Like they just made it better, or they just irritated the crap out of you, and you're over there wrestling and fighting.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
but that just helped pass the time. So just like that trauma bond, like that. There's no better relationship. Well, I guess there is a ton of better relationships.
But that's a great relationship.
You know
Very
what I'm
strong
saying?
bond, yeah. So I always said when growing I've said this a lot of times when people ask me what I thought about the Marine Corps. I always say it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, like the opening words of the novel. And here about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I texted my son and I said, "Hey, how's everything going on your deployment?"
Mm-hmm.
He responded, "It's the best of times, it is the worst of times."
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many opportunities within the military. And, like, sidetracking a little bit, I just wish kids that are in the military age, guys and girls, like, I wish that the military wasn't your third, fourth, fifth option. Like, I wish it would be higher up because there's so many opportunities. There's so many. I think it's just like a cheat code in life to get out of. If you're born and raised here in Independence and this is all you know, like, and you get to go to Alabama, North Carolina, California then they pay you, and you get to meet new people. Like, I just think it's such a great experience for anybody and everybody to be able to get out of your hometown, to be able to meet new people and just spread your wings a little bit. And they pay you, and there's so many benefits that the military offers.
So, I'll put this out right now. Any recruiters that want to come on
Yeah.
the podcast and talk to us, hey, I don't want to hear your sales pitch.
Yeah.
I want you to come in and talk about the experience that you have in the military and how it changed your life.
Yeah. I mean, they told me I'd see the world. I saw Iraq and Afghanistan.
They told me I would see the world. I saw California and North Carolina.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's with every single job. Does anybody absolutely love every single second of the job? No. Like, you make the best of it with what you have, so it's your mindset. And it's the people around you. There's so many people that have great attitudes, but then they get around like demotivated people. And I don't care what job you're in, like, that's going to derail you. That's going to pull you down. So that's the same thing with the military. Is there was parts of my career where I got around people that didn't love the military and talked bad about it, to where like I tried to fit in that same mold or whatever, and I didn't see the opportunities that the military offered me, and I didn't take advantage of all of it. So that's another reason why it's hard for me to turn the page, because there's so many opportunities I left on the table.
I think you and I could just sit here and talk. I've forgotten there's a camera a few times.
Yeah, right.
We could sit here and talk for hours. We're going to have some more opportunities to talk.
Yeah.
Hopefully that you want to keep coming as a guest or as a co-host.
Definitely.
We love having you. I think we probably done enough damage for today. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me.
All right. So just want to remind everybody, coming up December 14th here at Indy Fitness, we are having the Brio Med Spa. Dr. Haley, nurse practitioner Haley Schulteis, is going to come in. She's going to talk about female and male hormones. and how she can help you with that. We're partnering with her, so look forward to seeing you guys. That's going to start, I believe, at 10 a.m. We're going to have Devin Packett from Packett Personal Training come in and talk about personal training. We're going to talk about some QR codes that we're doing to help you learn how to use the machines, and we just want to see independents get healthier. You talk to any doctor, nurse practitioner, nurse around here, they'll tell you this is a very unhealthy area of the country. And so, this isn't about you buying a gym membership. You can work out at home. Matt works out at home. You can use the park. There's running trails. There's other things, but we want to see independents get healthy.
Yeah, and then from like my experience in the medical field is working out and having a active lifestyle will do way more than any pill can do. The pills are supposed to aid in your recovery, but you yourself need to get up and go do it. You need to get out and do the gym, go out and go on a walk. If you're just solely dependent on pills and with the doctor's prescriptions, you're not going to make it anywhere. It might help jumpstart something, but you got to do it. You got to want it.
Yes, sir. All right. Anybody has a story to tell? I've said this before. Wants to tell it? Come out. Hit us up on a DM. There's lots of ways you can find us. Indy Fitness Facebook page. We have Instagram. We have all these different all roads lead to the gym social medias. We have the Instagram, the Facebook. You can probably send us a message on YouTube. Let us know that you might want to be on this podcast, and we'll talk to you and see if we think it'll be a good fit. Having said that, Matt, thank you for being on again. You have lots of great stories. Really appreciate your time. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time.
See ya.